Good morning and welcome to today's 20-minute update, BCF's monthly series of interactive calls to give you an inside look at BCF, our initiatives, and the work we do in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and the entire region. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ralph Serpi, Vice President of Philanthropy at the Baltimore Community Foundation, and with me today is Kevin Griffin Moreno. He oversees all of our program work here at the Baltimore Community Foundation. But before we get started, Kevin, I want to thank our civic leadership donors for their support. It's because of their support that BCF can provide resources like this 20-minute update. And we are in full swing asking our civic leadership donors to renew their support to the Civic Leadership Fund. And this year we're also asking people to share their dreams for Baltimore. So when you get your request for renewal support, or if you're watching this video on either our Facebook page or on our YouTube page, click on that Civic Leadership Support video and you'll go to our Dreams for Baltimore page and you can share your dreams for Baltimore, made possible through the Civic Leadership Fund. So today we are talking about arts funding at the Baltimore Community Foundation. So Kevin, let's get started.
Great.
Could you give us an overview of arts funding at BCF? Let's start there.
Certainly. At the Baltimore Community Foundation, we give to the arts in four major ways. The first is through our neighborhoods priority area. As many of you know, neighborhoods and education are our two discretionary priority areas. I can talk a little bit about how arts comes into the picture in that. We also support the arts through our many donor-advised funds and family foundation funds, such as the Eddie and Sylvia Brown Family Foundation Fund here at the Community Foundation. We have a field of interest fund for, actually more than one field of interest fund for the arts here at the foundation, and this is money that is dedicated to fund arts purposes provided by our donors.
So that means that anyone can come to the foundation, create their own fund to support the arts, and then each year a portion of that fund is granted to support the arts in Baltimore.
That is exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, thanks for the clarification. And then the fourth way in which we support the arts is through the provision of technical assistance and convening services and helping out some of the intermediary organizations in our community. So, and finally, I should mention that we also provide grant-making services to the William G. Baker William G. Baker Jr. Memorial Fund. They are a separate foundation, but they affiliate with us and are just huge supporters of the arts in Baltimore.
Yeah, a major arts funder in the city of Baltimore.
Very much so, big player. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the specific ways that these different types of funding paths support arts in Baltimore. Within our neighborhoods program area, our board of directors, when they chose neighborhoods as one of our two priority areas for discretionary grant making, they identified neighborhood vibrancy as one of the most important things that they wanted to support. We believe that strong, successful neighborhoods are safe, clean, green, and vibrant. And we spent a lot of time talking about what constitutes neighborhood vibrancy. And where we started from was a vibrant neighborhood is a place where you can have a recreational or social or artistic opportunity within walking distance of your front door. And so to support that goal, one of our major partners in our target neighborhoods work is Creative Alliance in Southeast Baltimore. They are located right in the heart of Highlandtown, which is a neighborhood that we've been supporting through that work for several years. We also have a long-standing neighborhood grants program, and the neighborhood grants program supports community-driven projects in a whole variety of different areas, including the arts. So, for example, in Franklin Square, we helped the residents of Franklin Square in West Baltimore reclaim an old lot that was left when a row home was demolished. We help them put in landscaping, and then our neighborhood grants program help them connect with artists so that they can activate that space.
So is the goal of that community arts funding to identify and support emerging artists in neighborhoods, or is the goal of that arts funding, neighborhood arts funding, to provide more engaging or vibrant local communities?
A little of both, more of the second. So both through our support for arts in neighborhoods through our Target Neighborhood program, as well as the Neighborhood Grants program, what we're really doing is trying to listen to communities to hear how art can help improve the quality of life in their neighborhoods, and then supporting that.
And in community arts programs in Baltimore, when there are over 220 neighborhoods in Baltimore, they don't all look alike, and people don't all speak the same language, or people don't all look the same or come from the same home country. Do the arts look different, and do we fund different art in different communities?
They look very different, and I think I just returned actually from a conference in St. Paul, Minnesota, for grant makers in the arts. And we spent a lot of time talking about issues of gentrification, of the racial divides in the art world, and what Foundation's role is in promoting equity and inclusiveness in their funding, and not just defaulting to their usual crop of grant makers. And also using their philanthropic dollars to promote social justice issues through the arts. So 2 examples very quickly. One is the Greater Baltimore Cultural Alliance, our regional arts alliance, that operates a program called the Urban Arts Leadership Program. Mm-hmm. And so this takes professionals who are people of color who aspire to administrative and managerial positions within the arts, and provides them with a 1-year fellowship, professional development training, coaching, and actual placements in arts nonprofits to help grow that professional core of arts administrators. And the other is the Force Upsetting Rape Culture campaign run by Rebecca Nagel and Hannah Brancato. I won't go into the details, but they use art, specifically quilt making, as a vehicle for combating the culture of sexual assault.
We have a couple minutes left in this first segment. If you're just joining us, this is BCF's 20-minute update, our series of monthly interactive calls. I'm talking with Kevin Griffin Moreno, who oversees BCF's entire program area, and we're talking about arts funding at BCF and in Baltimore. We're initially talking about community-based neighborhoods arts funding. Let's go to the other side of the spectrum really quickly. We have some really big arts institutions, blue chip arts institutions here in Baltimore. What's BCF's role in Baltimore's relationship with those big institutions, especially in terms of economic development?
I'm glad you asked. Many of our donor-advised funds support our anchor cultural institutions, the museums, the symphony, and so forth. We also have a growing DIY culture of smaller nonprofits and unincorporated groups that are doing some tremendously exciting work that's getting national attention. And as you mentioned, we have community arts. All of those comprise an arts economy that creates jobs, brings in audiences, provides that neighborhood vibrancy. And so speaking personally, my hope is that philanthropy can help to grow and strengthen and stabilize that arts economy to benefit everyone in the city and the region.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity to be in a city in a region so close to other communities with strong arts and culture presence, to carve out a place with a unique identity of all its own, where the big cultural institutions and an emerging local arts community have been able to coexist quite well. Thank you very much. And it's also good to see how the large institutions have changed some of their programming based on the the grassroots arts that's happening in the city.
Yeah, definitely. And BMA and the Walters, as well as the Baltimore Symphony, deserve a lot of credit for taking steps in that direction.
So let's go to, are we interrupted? Is our broadcast interrupted? Okay. No. So mine is. So we're going to open up our call for questions. So if you're on our 20-minute call, if you've dialed into the call today, you can press *6 now to unmute your line and ask a question. Please listen carefully. After you've finished asking your question, I want to remind you to press *6 again to mute your line. If you're following on our live stream on Facebook this morning, simply ask your question in the comments section below. I'll pick that up and I'll ask Kevin that question. Or you can tweet a question using the hashtag 20-minute update. That's 20-minute update. We have lots of questions coming in for you, Kevin, so we're going to go quick.
Okay.
And here goes. So the first question from Betsy is, does BCF fund individual public school arts programs?
Through our donor-advised funds, we do support public school arts programs. I should point out that these are grants that are recommended by individual donor advisors. So these aren't grants typically that staff or board have a lot of discretion over. However, we also support, we've provided grant funding to Young Audiences from Maryland, which works to strengthen the relationships between artists and schools.
Yeah. We also have funds that are designated for the Baltimore jazz education in Baltimore schools.
Yep.
And piano instruction in Baltimore City schools. So there's lots of music education interest and bringing that back. And so thank you for that question, Betsy. Again, if you're on the phone and you'd like to ask a question, now is a great opportunity to press *6 to ask your question.
We have a second. One example of this growing arts economy in Baltimore that I wanted to point out is the development of a multi-use art space on the west side on the Howard Street corridor in the 400 block. It's called Le Mondo. It represents a collection of performing arts organizations that have come together and worked with developers and the city to create performance and rehearsal and administrative space for arts organizations. So as somebody who has watched the halting progress of development on the west side, I think that's a really important project, and BCF did support it through its Fund for Arts.
You know, one of the things that BCF was looking at through its neighborhood grants program was trying to find a unifying neighborhood policy. So neighborhood work wasn't piecemeal from neighborhood to neighborhood. In the world of arts funding, and let me back up and say, in the world of sustainability, the work that the Sustainability Commission, led by Cheryl Kashani here at the Baltimore Community Foundation, put together a sustainability plan that really helped uniform not only the city but the region. And in terms of arts funding, is there a similar unifying approach to the question? If there's piecemeal work in arts funding within public schools, could there be a unifying approach to public education, to arts education in public schools or across the region?
I think there can be, but what's required is a realization that arts can and should be a component of many different aspects of our civic life. We tend to view arts as a discrete sort of thing, and frankly, we tend to view arts as something that's dispensable, as something that if we're having funding conversations about human services or about community development, arts frequently gets short shrift. However, as examples both locally and around the country have shown, arts can be an integral part of public policy, whether we're advocating for more public funding for schools or for more economic development dollars coming into neighborhoods. They can be part of the policy of pedagogy in schools.
Right.
They can be part of community organizing. They should be part of city planning. Just having somebody who has a creative and design mindset working on issues of urban policy can bring a whole new perspective to the way that we provide services for our residents. So I would argue that there are a lot of examples from around the country that we can and should be taking note of.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Looking at how are we doing on time, guys? Good. We have 5 minutes. If you're on the phone and you'd like to ask a question of Kevin about arts funding at BCF or the arts in Baltimore, please press *6 to ask your question.
Hi, this is Kim Trueheart.
Good morning, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. I also am administering a space in the 400 block of Howard Street. It's called the Downtown Cultural Arts Center. And we're a nonprofit, and we are trying to create opportunities in that space, just as you said the Mondo space was.
Yes.
In fact, this Saturday we're having 18 Baltimore City artists in to display their artwork. And so I'm trying to create opportunities around this wonderful space that we have. And so it's good to hear that there possibly are grant funding opportunities, because I always need funds. And so as a nonprofit in downtown Baltimore on the west side, I think this is great. And if you could tell me some of the opportunities that you're aware of, that would be helpful.
Sure. Thank you very much. And in fact, I would love to follow up with you, Ms. Trueheart, individually, just to learn more about Downtown Cultural Arts Center. The two grant funding programs that you might be interested in. One is the Eddie C. and C. Sylvia Brown Family Foundation Fund here at the Community Foundation. They have an annual grant making cycle. So typically the proposals are due in August or early September. So the 2016 grant cycle is already underway, but there are opportunities on 2017. You can find out about the guidelines by going to bcf.org. And then, as I said, we do have a field of interest fund for the arts where we can allocate small discretionary grants on a periodic basis. So maybe you and I can follow up offline, and we can talk about some of the possibilities there. Oh, and then finally, the Neighborhood Grants Program, which is also listed on our website, is another possibility.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for that question, and please remember to press *6 to mute your line. Folks, if you're watching on the Facebook live stream, please remember to hit that share button and that like button. We have 2 minutes left. Kevin, I know that not only do you oversee all of the program area of the Baltimore Community Foundation, you're also on the board of the Baltimore Rock Opera Society. Do a lot of time and effort, so not only do you do this professionally, but you're also a big fan and put a lot of volunteer hours into that. Tell us about this organization.
Baltimore Rock Opera, and I did not pay Ralph to pull out the card and talk about that. Baltimore Rock Opera Society is a theater company that produces live rock operas. We have one coming up at Chesapeake Arts Center that opens next week. It's called Brides of Tortuga. It's going to be a fantastic show. Just Google Baltimore Rock Opera Society and you can find out.
And I bring that up because the Baltimore Rock Opera Society is one of scores of arts organizations in this city and in this county and in this region that really enrich what is going on in Baltimore. Baltimore is a wonderful, wonderful, quirky city that gets under your skin, that you become part of the fabric of this place. Kevin, you have been part of lots of organizations. You and the Community Foundation have made thousands of grants to lots of organizations. Can you identify a grant that the foundation has made to an arts organization that you think really exemplifies what it means to invest in Baltimore?
Absolutely. as many of our callers are aware, in 2015 we created the Fund for Rebuilding Baltimore in response to the unrest that came in the wake of Freddie Gray's funeral. And one of the organizations that the Community Foundation supported through this fund is a group called Do More Baltimore. This is a group of young people who organize other young people into poetry clubs, into talking about social justice, in using performance poetry and hip-hop and the written word as vehicles not only of creative expression, but of fostering issues of justice. And that is so for those of you who haven't heard of Do More, it's Do, D-E-W, separate word, More, Baltimore. They're a fantastic organization. I had the privilege of moderating a panel at a recent Grassroots Grantmakers Conference in Baltimore, and Kenneth Morrison, who's the founder of Do More, was one of the panelists. He and Lady Breon Gill, who's another poet, they did a fantastic performance to kick off that session. So to me, they exemplify what's really exciting about the arts in Baltimore.
Wonderful. Kevin, Griffin Moreno, thank you so much for your time this morning. Thanks to our callers on our 20-minute update. Thanks to our friends on Facebook for joining us. We're coming up on 9:20. We're probably past it, so that means that this monthly 20-minute call is sadly coming to an end. So thanks again to our Civic Leadership Fund donors. Please visit our Facebook, our YouTube page and our bcf.org page. Share your dreams for Baltimore at bcf.org and hear what others are saying about their dreams for Baltimore as well. For questions or comments, please contact Kevin or I here at the Community Foundation at bcf.org. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.